"This is new," George said, in a slightly bewildered tone. "Not a problem," Dougie said as he pushed it open with his foot. "Welcome to the quarry, Katie. Today will change our lives forever." Katie grunted and then sallied through the open gate. They took the dirt track that curved around to the left. Mounds, or rather hills, of displaced earth and stones, about 60 feet away, formed the small valley on either side of them through which they walked. Round about the boulders, clusters of flowering weeds and shallow pools had to be negotiated. "Remember we saw the newt here last summer?" George said. "Aye, a newt all right," Dougie said. "Here?" "I was surprised as well," George replied as he eyed the nearest pool. "Just a little further." They bounded forward, and then the panorama extended to reveal the water-filled quarry. The grey clouds, which had already caught up with them, were the same colour as the rippling water, but nature's soft tones swirled about them, enhancing the tranquil atmosphere of the quarry. "I checked it out this morning on Google Maps. It's nearly 50 metres wide and 60 metres long," George said, extending his arms to emphasize the expanse. "It'll be difficult getting to the other side. It's sheer cliff," Katie said. George removed the map from his jacket's inside pocket. Dougie and Katie drew in closer as George gently opened the tan, wrinkled map. "I mean, it's just an X. It's not very helpful." Dougie scratched his head. "This is definitely the place. That has to be Redhall Manor on the map, and it was built in the 18th century. Late 17th century, actually," George corrected. "Whatever," Dougie said, emphatically shaking his head. "If you were a pirate, where would you hide it?" "We need a landmark," Katie said. "Something that looks unnatural." Dougie walked to the water's edge and peered in. There was no water here 300 years ago, so chances are the treasure's down there somewhere. "Is it deep?" Katie asked. "Yes, very." George huffed and kicked a stone into the water. Dougie was right. The quarry would have been flooded long after the death of Anne O'Malley. It would be sheer luck if O'Malley had buried the treasure in an area that had escaped the flood. The groan of a heavy diesel engine roused them from their contemplations. 3 yellow diggers rumbled into the clearing. "What are they doing here?" George said, his eyebrows squished together in confusion. The diggers stopped 10 feet from them, and a pot-bellied driver clambered out of the one nearest to them. His sneer accentuated his heavy-jowled face. "This is private property. Now beat it." George shook his head. "Our teacher said this is council land." "Not anymore. This land belongs to Tam McMaster. Next year, this will be Ballymagee's newest housing estate." "What about the ducks?" Dougie said. "What about the animals that live here?" Katie added. "What about them? Now clear out before I give you a clip behind the ear." They slinked past the smirking drivers, who followed on their heels. After they had exited, the digger driver padlocked the gate while the other 2 workers clipped on a no trespassing sign. "Well, that's that then," Katie said. "We're not going to let a padlocked gate put us off, are we?" George said. "I don't have the time," Katie answered. "We have exams coming up, and then summer camp. Anyway, if there is any treasure, it's probably under the water, and if it isn't, it belongs to McMaster. Sorry, George." "Yeah, I've no time as well. I'll be visiting Dad soon. We don't want no trouble from Tam McMaster. He's the first man of Ballymagee." George's stomach clenched as he heaved himself down the road. He couldn't lie to himself. He was deeply disappointed about the treasure. As usual, he had let himself get carried away with stupid dreams. But now it wasn't just about O'Malley's treasure. It was about the quarry and all the animals who had made it their home. The treasure might be there, or it might have always been pure fantasy. But destroying the quarry for a housing estate was very real, with very real consequences.